I've already read about these characters for 5,000 pages. It's very clear that our characters' arcs are not done. What's the point in even continuing this book? Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. I'm so excited for today's reading vlog because we are continuing more series that I am in the middle of, and I am actually currently on the brink of finishing so many series. I'm so ready to get into it. I'm excited for this week of reads. What is my actual series count right now? Hold on, let me check. My current active number of series I'm in the middle of right now is 19. So the first series that we can finish today is actually quite an epic one, and I actually did get a head start on reading this. I am actually like almost halfway through reading, but don't worry, we have so much further to go in this one because I picked up Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. It is falling out of the dust jacket. Oh my goodness, hold on. Yeah, I picked up Wind and Truth. This is the 5th and final book of Stormlight Archive Phase 1, and it's been this has been a journey, okay? You know what? We're going to talk about this in a bit, but I kind of want to go over what we can read this week in the series we could finish potentially this week first before I dive into my thoughts so far on Wind and Truth. But that's the current read. That's the first series that we're gonna finish this week. And then next, after that, I'm actually gonna finish the Infernal Devices trilogy. So I'm gonna read Clockwork Princess after Wind and Truth by Cassandra Clare. I'm really excited for this one. I have heard so many incredible things. I have heard that this book is the best book in the Shadowhunters universe overall as a whole. So I'm hoping this one's gonna be incredible. I'm expecting amazing things, and I can't wait to see how this trilogy ends. And then in terms of our third, this is where we have a little bit of room to mood read, to choose once we get there. One option is actually a series that I started very recently. It's a duology, but I read The Jessed Heir very recently by Sarah Hashem, and this is the Jessed Crown, the second book, the finale to the duology. I did enjoy many aspects of the first book. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't love certain parts of it. You can watch my reading vlog or my wrap up where I talked about this book last month if you want to hear more of my reasons on that, but I am dedicated to finishing this duology and seeing it through, seeing how her writing maybe changes in this one because The Jessed Heir was her debut novel. There's also The Dark Mirror by Samantha Shane, and you guys know this has been like such an up and down roller coaster for me, but after I read this one, I will be caught up in this series. So this is also an option just to catch up, and I have mentioned that this is the last book I will read in the series. If I don't absolutely love it, I will drop this series at book 5, and I will not continue if this one doesn't absolutely wow me. So this could also actually potentially eliminate a series off my list if I don't love it and if I end up dropping the series, but hopefully I end up loving it, and hopefully I just keep this on my series list, but then we have to wait for the 6th book to come out. But that's another option we could read for the 3rd book. And then I could also, this would definitely not finish a series, but I could also continue the Dungeon Crawler series. So this is Carl's Doomsday scenario. This is book 2 in Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman, of course. And I mean, I feel like I don't need to explain this book at all. We've all heard about it. If we're online, we've seen this book literally everywhere. Also a very just like a different mood to the books that I normally read. So honestly, these are kind of nice as palette cleansers almost, just like mood changers to keep things fresh. So that's also an option for the 3rd book. But okay, we need to focus on our actual current book on hand. So let's talk a little bit about Wind and Truth. So this is physically the largest book I have seen that I've owned. It is the heaviest. It's actually very hard for me right now to be like holding this with one hand because my grip strength is, to be honest, not very good. My fingers are kind of weak. But this book is just over 1,300 pages long. I'm at around page 500 right now, so I've made quite a good little dent in this, but this is the conclusion to the Stormlight Archive, which I think is a series that you all know of at this point, but essentially it's an epic fantasy. We have this like wide spanning battle, like war across the entire realm that just gets more complex and complex as we iterate through the books, and we have a really interesting magic system that also gets expanded upon throughout every single book. But what I love the most about the magic system in this is how closely it's tied with mental health and your morals and the oaths you take, like your virtues in life. I think that is just done so well in the series, and I think just like stepping into this book, as I picked it up and I was like, I'm gonna read this one, for some reason it did not click in my mind that this is the last book in this series. I think because like this is book 5, it concludes era 1 of the Stormlight Archive, but Brandon Sanderson has already mentioned that he will be continuing the Stormlight series in the year 2030. He's gonna like continue on with phase 2. I don't know, for some reason that signified to my brain that this is not the end. So I didn't really realize that when picking up this book, and I don't think I mentally prepared myself to say goodbye to these characters yet, because these books are so long. Like at this point by book 5, I've already read about these characters for like 5,000 pages. I've gone through so many ups and downs, and just when you reflect back on where these characters started in the first book and where they have come now, it's so cool when you think of the big picture. Like when we first started with them, they were all just like stumbling, trying to find their place in the world, trying to find like something to stand up for. And you know, there's been ups and downs with that through the series, but they've all found their place at this point, you know, and it just makes me like emotional, really, to think about how far we've come. And for an author to have fictional characters embed so deeply into your heart and soul definitely takes talent, and it's always a good sign of a series, of a book, when that happens. Yeah, as I've been reading through this, starting from page, I feel like 100, we already started to get into this feeling of goodbyes. We were already having characters having these like goodbye moments with other characters, moments like, hey, this might be the last time I'll ever see you, but good luck with whatever you need to do. We had a lot of those, and it started just like making me like, on one hand, want to continue this book because I'm like, I want to obviously see this all the way through and see how it ends. But then on the other hand, I'm like, do I really want to continue? Because then it'll be the end and there will be no more. And that's just sad. I've honestly heard some mixed things about this one, but I must say I'm loving this. I love the direction we're going in with every single character. And I feel like I'm not irritated at any of these characters. Like, for sure there are characters that I hate, but I'm not annoyed at them. I just hate them. You know what I mean? I know why they're doing what they're doing and I hate them for it, but it all makes sense. I think that's been done really well throughout this entire series, where the intentions of our characters are so like not straightforward, but explained to us. And I love how mental health has been such a strong backbone to the story. We literally have so many characters in this book deep diving into their minds. We have like the start, the initiation of something like therapy in these books, and that tied along with just like the theme of art and art being really important. I think Brandon Sanderson does that in a lot of his books, is like really highlighting the importance of art. Just overall, the combo of those two in the series makes me happy. I love it so much. It's such a unique way to go about a fantasy and a magic system that's like so deeply embedded in this big war. Also, I feel like I've been yapping so much about this book already, and like we've just started this reading vlog, but there's just so much to say. Something so cool about this book is that for the first 4 books in the series, our books have been split up into 5 different parts with interlude sections in between, but this one, as the last book, is split into 10 different days. So we have 10 parts in this book, and each part is one day. And for an epic fantasy to conclude in a 10-day span but also be this long is just such an interesting decision, but I feel like it's really working because I can't stop reading because I'm like, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen today? What's gonna happen tomorrow? Everything feels so high stakes, so like, oh my gosh, the world could end in 6 days kind of a feeling, and I can't look away from it. It's really cool. I love the pacing of this one. Each day spans for about like 130 pages because we're following multi-POV obviously. And yeah, I don't know, I'm just gonna continue this ride. I'm probably gonna get emotional just because like it's the end of a lot of our character arcs, but this is the first series we're gonna finish in this video, so let's actually like get into some reading. Let's stop talking. The thing with these books is, though, the only appropriate way to read this is number 1, dust jacket off, because the size of this book is already so unwieldy. We cannot have a dust jacket in the way, okay? And then the other thing is, you need to rest this book on a hard surface. Like, good luck if you want to hold this book in the middle of the air while reading it. Like, you will read one page and your wrists and your neck will be tired. So dust jacket off, naked book on a surface is the only healthy way to read this one. So it's a good thing I have a desk here. Ooh, there's a character in here that I hate a lot. There is a character in here. Oh my goodness, the amount of pain this one character has put me through in terms of like what this character has been doing to other characters. Unbelievable. This is unacceptable. If this series ends without that character being eliminated, I don't know how I would feel about that. But anyways, things are getting exciting. So I'm on page 822. I am nearing, I think I'm getting close to the end of day 7 out of 10 in the story, and so much has happened. So much has been happening. I am feeling like giddy while I'm reading this book. At points, it's definitely a very long book, so there are definitely moments where you get really bogged down with the details, with all the information, and you're just kind of like, do I need to know all of this about battle strategy? And I feel like the answer to that is yes and no. I know I've been kind of harsh on Brandon Sanderson with his over-explaining, especially in Rhythm of War, the book right before this. And while I feel like we are still getting a lot of information in this book, I don't know, maybe it's because it's paired alongside these emotional journeys really well that I'm not minding it as much in this book. Like, yes, on one hand, while it can be, like, it can feel tedious kind of seeing the nitty-gritty details of all of it, it does truly feel like you are experiencing this alongside with all of your characters. So then by the end of it, you do feel like you have gone through all of these endeavors with your characters, and it makes you just feel that much more attached to them. So that's kind of the beauty of a long fantasy series. I feel like with many long fantasy books, like not even just Brandon Sanderson's, but a lot of them, it's like, did it have to be this long to tell the story? Probably not, but did you feel like more affected by everything because it was so long? In most cases. In some cases, if it's done well, I would say yes. So I'm not minding the over-explaining in this. I feel like because we have a lot of switching POVs in this book too, the over-explaining is actually helping me in this case because we have so many different storylines to keep track of that I'm kind of needing the reminder when we switch back to these characters. So many interesting things though. I feel like also we definitely have a main antagonist, but the funny thing is there is this one character that I was just like ranting about. That one character that's kind of like a side antagonist is the worst character to me, like is the character that I want to see destroyed. Like the main antagonist, I'm kind of almost just like, you're really interesting, like a very, very well-rounded antagonist where you're kind of like, I want to hate you, but I kind of like don't even hate you because you're just so interesting to read about. Like there are so many different facets and sides of you. And so I honestly love when an enemy is written in that way. So that's also good. The friendships in the series too are incredible. I've said this before about some other authors. I think Pierce Brown does this really well, is mixing in comedy within these intense battle situations. Like you'll obviously have all these chapters that feel tedious and like and bleak and whatever, but in between we get these moments where we have these little friendship moments and they can be a little bit silly. Like there was one moment where a character was talking about like the word goobering or something like that, and it just like brought me out of like the bleak like battle feeling that I was having, and I was just like, oh, it really truly feels like these characters are friends, like true friends, when you get those little silly moments like that. I just feel like I need to continue reading. I think I have like around 500 pages left in this book, which is insane that I've read over 800 pages and I still have 500 pages left. That's literally the length of an entire other book. But this is so cool. This is really cool. I like all the directions we're going in, as I mentioned, with mental health and art and kind of like spiritualism and religion and everything. And there's also so many Cosmere connections in this book. Like, we've kind of been getting little hints of them throughout the series, and it gets a little bit more and more and more entangled into like the full Cosmere the longer you stay in it. But in this book specifically, we are getting so many, like, I want to call them Easter eggs, but I feel like they're not even Easter eggs because they are significant to like the overall plot. Like, they're not just random spottings. I feel like they are all going to add up to like something truly connected. We're getting a lot of callbacks to like Mistborn, like Warbreaker, like all of Brandon's other books. Obviously I haven't read all of them, so I'm probably missing so many of the references, but even with the ones I'm getting with my Cosmere experience, I get really excited when I see like little connections between different books and different series. So anyways, I think I have yapped for long enough. I'm gonna continue reading. I'm on chapter 83, page 882. We're nearing the end of day 7. Things are gonna get really intense from this point onwards. I can feel it. Okay, I just did a reading sprint with the book club and I just hopped off, but I don't really have any more updates to say to you, like in terms of my thoughts about this book, but there were some jaw-dropping moments that have just happened on this. What day are we on now? Day 8, I think? I'm just gonna keep reading. I have a feeling I'm just gonna like marathon this book until the end. Like, there are technically still over 400 pages left for me to read, so I'm probably not gonna finish it today, but likely in the next 2 days, I'll probably finish this book, which means I will have been reading this book for just over a week. I feel like maybe this will be a 9-day read. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep reading, okay? There's actually no way this is how this ends. I have been rendered speechless. I literally have no words. My brain right now, I'm confused. This did not go in a direction that I thought it would. I don't have anyone to talk to about this. I genuinely don't even know what to think. Like, do I have a rating for this book at this moment in time? No, I have zero thoughts. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna take a couple days. I'm gonna gather myself. I'll get back to you in a couple days, okay? Oh, hi there. It's the next day. It's actually the next evening, so it's been almost a full 24 hours since the little breakdown that you saw me have last night. I've been mulling over this, okay? I've been mulling over Wind and Truth because I've been trying to figure out what I actually think about this book. It's a very tricky one for me because of so many different factors. I feel like because, first of all, this is the 5th book in the series, I just feel so attached to this world and these characters at this point that it's honestly hard for me to give a non-biased rating to this book because I see this book set in the overall main world. You know, I read this book with the context of like the 5,000 other pages that I've read in the series before this point. So rating books in series is always a little bit different than rating standalone books. What I will say is this was better than Rhythm of War for me, and Rhythm of War I gave a 4-star, so this is definitely above a 4-star. I don't think it was on par with Words of Radiance or Oathbringer, so it's definitely not a 5-star for me. I think I'm sitting at 4.25 in my mind. I loved the direction that basically all of our characters went in the story, really leaning heavily into the mental health of things. I loved that. However, I think a lot of the journey of getting there was a little bit long-winded, especially there were some specific moments where we were having these philosophical debates, whether they were between 2 different characters or within just like one character's mind. I think a lot of that just rambled on for too long, but I do think those philosophical debates were important overall because even though I was kind of feeling a little agitated or frustrated when these little moments kept going on for too long, by the end of them, when we got to our kind of turning point, my heart was literally pounding. My nervous system was actually acting up. I was in fight or flight mode myself. So I think these mental journeys really impacted me, but just could have been done in fewer words. So yeah, it's a 4.25. I'm also, honestly, I feel a little bit gaslit at the end of this journey because this is not the end of the journey. I think as I've been reading this, when I started this book, I think I mentioned in this vlog actually, that I was feeling really sentimental and emotional because it felt like this was going to be the end of our journey for these characters, and I was thinking phase 2 in the series would be treated very similarly to something like Mistborn, where phase 1 is set in a certain time and phase 2 is set like thousands and thousands of years later. I thought that would be the case for here, so I was thinking like, yeah, we might come back to Roshar, we might come back to this world, but our characters' arcs are going to be done. Well, getting to the end of this book, it's very clear that our characters' arcs are not done. So just a word of a warning, if you are someone who is also currently reading the Stormlight Archive and you're thinking this is going to be the end, the last book, it's not. It's not, and you know, we're gonna get books 6 to 10 to complete the series, and book 6 isn't gonna come out until 2030. So just take that information and do whatever you want to do with it. It's one of those just like, that's it moments at the end of the book. So I'm just having a little bit of a crisis still in my mind on this, but it's gonna be a 4.25. I'm probably still gonna continue to mull over it in my head. I honestly feel like I wanna dive into like the Stormlight Archive Reddit threads. You know what I mean? I want to listen to some spoiler podcasts of people breaking it down. But that's Wind and Truth, okay? I feel like this reading vlog is probably so long already, but like that was a long book, so I think this reading vlog needs to be long just because this book is in it. The next book I'm gonna pick up, I don't know if I can do it today, okay, because I feel like I need another day off of reading just because my mind is still like trying to process things. I'm gonna do Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare next, which might be a horrible decision because I've heard that this book will leave you in shambles and I already feel like I am in shambles. So what will this do to me and my mental health and my emotions? We'll see. I am gonna dive into this one next to finish off the Infernal Devices trilogy, but I'm not gonna do it today. I'm probably gonna pick this up at some point tomorrow. I just need a day clear of words, another day clear of words. So that's my plan. I will see you when I pick a book up again. I did it, guys. I've gathered myself enough to pick up another book. So I did start Clockwork Princess. I'm about 100 pages in. I don't have too many thoughts yet. It's just a lot of fun so far. I do like these characters we're following. I feel like though there's kind of a sense of impending doom that I'm feeling in terms of like one of the characters and where their arc is gonna go. I'm kind of scared for their life, actually. This series is obviously known for its very famous love triangle, and I just, like, the only way I can see this love triangle figuring itself out is if one character dies, and I don't know if I want to read about that. I don't know if I want that to happen. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. What I will say is so far, like, this series is YA, right? It's like quintessential YA fantasy with romance in it, but it is a little bit gory and a little bit graphic, and there are kind of some like horrific things happening in this. I feel like with YA sometimes while you're reading it, there will be a lot of serious, like kind of mature, horrific things happening, but I guess it's just not explained in as much detail as you would go into in an adult book, and that's kind of what makes it a little bit more YA. But like the things that are happening in this so far already, I'm like, that is terrible. Like, that is horrifying. But at the same time, it is a lot of fun. So I don't know, I'm just gonna continue reading this. Hope everything settles in a nice happily ever after type of a way, but I honestly don't really see it going there, and I'm kind of scared. I will say also one last thing. I feel like this is the kind of book where everyone just sort of naturally pairs up with another. Like, there are just other subplots of little romance couplings that are happening with secondary characters, and it's just one of those stories where everyone conveniently just has someone that they fit with. And there's something just so cheesy, but so fun about that. So, okay, I'm gonna actually continue reading this now. What I do love about this, and this is actually something that is making this a really great read after reading Wind and Truth, is that nothing is overcomplicated. It's all written very simply. Like, yes, there is, you know, there are some really cool vibes in this with the Victorian England setting and with the demons and the cults and everything, and some of the Shadowhunters lore and the kind of classic book references that we get in here. It's not like this book is plain. There's definitely like a really cool mood and feeling to it, but it's not overcomplicating things. Everything just moves so quickly. We don't really like dwell on moments for too long. It's just like, okay, this is happening, and this is happening, and all of the sequences of events just go so quickly that it really does feel like the opposite of Brandon Sanderson writing. And so while I do appreciate both at certain times in different circumstances, it is actually very good reading this after Wind and Truth, because it's just a very different pace and style of storytelling. I am on page 220 right now, so I'm like just under the halfway point to this. And yeah, things are happening. I feel like you don't really get a break in these books. It's just kind of a constant even pace of exciting things happening, whether it's battles, whether it's kind of like scheming things, whether it's romantic things. I will say also with the whole romantic plot line, this is the only situation, okay, where I would be okay with a why choose. Okay, I'm not a why choose girly. You guys know that about me, but like, this is the only appropriate situation that I've ever read about where I'm like, I honestly might be okay with the why choose. I will keep reading this though, and I will read this at a very quick pace. I already know this. You know when you're reading a book and you're like, okay, if this one thing happens, it's over for me. Like, it's game over. What's the point in even continuing this book? I'm at that point right now. What? I knew this was gonna happen, but like, already? I don't want to keep going. I do want to keep going, but I also don't. If you haven't read the series before, I hope you don't know what I'm talking about, but if you have read the series before, you definitely do know what I'm talking about, and you guys probably were all waiting for this moment to happen and to see my reaction as it happened, but alas, I was in bed reading this last night when it happened, and I don't really like film myself in bed because like we're friends, but like that's a little too close. You know what I mean? I have heard that the epilogue of this book is like the epilogue of all epilogues and is like super emotional. I guess we'll see what happens when I get there. I have no like educational thoughts about this book, like any insightful reviews at this point in time. I'm just along for the ride. I'm along for the story. I don't like it right now. But I do, but I don't. You get it. Anyways, I'm on page 322. I think that means I have over 200 pages left, like 250 pages left in this book. So I'm just gonna sit here and read. I get it. A lot of what you guys were saying in my comments while I was reading through the series, I like kind of didn't understand as I was reading through, but like, I get it now. What can I say? I really liked this. It was cheesy at points. It was a little bit silly at points. It was like super lovey-dovey at points, but also the plot was really great. I do love these characters, and I am like very happy about how everything wrapped up together in the end. It's one of those stories where like while I was reading throughout it, like, I mean, you guys saw my thoughts. I was just thinking, I can't see a way out of this without feeling just sad and like just not fully satisfied with the end. But Cassandra Clare brought it around. I don't know how she did it, but you guys are right about that epilogue. It is one of the greatest epilogues ever, because I feel like, you know, especially with a lot of epilogues that are written nowadays, a lot of them are just like, oh, and then they get married, they have kids, they live happily ever after, whatever, and those types of epilogues just have no purpose. This one had a purpose. It had almost a full story on its own that I want to dive deeper into. It had a purpose. It was telling you something. That was a great way to end this trilogy. I'm ready to move on to the Last Hour series, which I think is the one that goes after this one. I think I'm gonna give this book a 4.5. It was, honestly, it was, I think, a 4.25 for most of the way through, but that epilogue definitely bumped it up. And I do wish that I read this as a teenager. I feel like it's great now. Like, it's so much fun to read. I did love the whole experience, but if I read this as a teenager, this would have ascended to like god level, god tier book for me. I just do feel like some moments in these books were just a little bit too silly, but clearly still impacted me, still got me emotionally. That was great. And that's another series done. I do think though, as I was saying, I need a change of pace. I need something just like less serious fantasy. So I am gonna do Dungeon Crawler 2 next. So Carl's Doomsday Scenario is the next book that I will be picking up. I'm gonna read this book so quickly. I only read for, I feel like, an hour last night, and I'm already about a third of the way in. So yeah, these definitely go by so quick. If you don't know what the Dungeon Crawler Carl books are about yet, it's a lit RPG, so kind of like a subgenre of fantasy and sci-fi where it's very game oriented. At the start of the book, Earth has been taken over by this like alien corporation, and basically this corporation has been taking over planets to use them for their mining resources. But whoever survives like their initial attack on the planet gets sent into these dungeons that basically operate as a video game. So there are 18 levels of dungeons that you have to traverse. There are rules, there are a lot of game mechanics to it, and essentially all survivors, like, they're forced into this game. But what gets creepier is that while everyone is traversing these dungeons, it's not only just a game for like them and the corporation or whatever, they're also acting as entertainment. So the entire thing is live streamed to this like alien planet, very Hunger Games style, and as we get even like deeper into the levels, there are opportunities for people to like sponsor you, kind of like similarly to how the Hunger Games works. So while you're starting to do these horrific things, like you need to kill things, whether they're NPCs or other people, to loot them, you're also at the same time like aware that you're being watched the entire time, and you get pressured to perform and like do certain things to get sponsors and to get fans. So our two main characters are Carl and Princess Donut. Carl is just kind of like a regular schmegular guy at the beginning of the book, and Princess Donut is actually his ex-girlfriend's cat. They enter the dungeon together. Princess Donut is now able to speak because she is also a crawler in this game now, and we just watch as the two of them go through the dungeons, learn how to play. The tone of these books is really interesting because while, you know, the premise of it does seem very dark and horrific, it is written in this humorous way, almost to draw attention away from the darkness of it all, but then it also kind of makes it creepier at the same time. And they're definitely very refreshing for me to read in the sense that they do feel so different than my usual read, especially my usual fantasy type read. What I will say is, I think I said this about the first book too, is that while these books are technically fast-paced, I want to say, like there's always something happening, there's never kind of like a lull in the story, it also feels slow at the same time, because with this lit RPG genre, it's something I haven't really read very much before, you do get really like in the details of what's happening. You're learning game mechanics, you're taking a lot of time to open loot boxes and go through your inventory and choose your stats. We do get a lot of details, and on one hand it's really fun because as someone who is like playing video games quite a bit in my evenings these days, it is fun reading a book that kind of goes through that process in text. It's definitely interesting. On the other hand, some of the game components of the story I feel like feel quite repetitive. Like we get into boss fights every now and then, and it's just kind of mob fights and then boss fights and then mob fights and boss fights. And in the first book I did, start feeling like I was getting bogged down in the repetition a bit. So I'm wondering what this one will feel like. What I will say is so far, this one doesn't feel repetitive so far. I mean, I'm only a third of the way in, but even compared to the first book, we are kind of like exploring new things. We've traversed down another level and the environment feels really different, which I think is also a great way to keep these books refreshing, is that every level can feel so different in terms of the world building, the feel, the design of everything. So I'm liking the vibe of this level that we're on right now. And also there are some new components to the game that have been introduced to us now that we're a level down. And I feel like that's gonna add some more interesting things to the story, like quest things. I am also finding that I'm caring about the characters a little bit more in this one. In the first one, I mean, I obviously love Princess Donut. I love a sassy cat sidekick character, but I feel like we are getting a little bit more depth with them as we go on. A lot of it, I think, is displayed within the bond between Carl and Princess Donut as they bond together, as they start opening up to each other, start trusting each other more, and finding like their symbiosis. I also, as the reader, am starting to feel more attached to them. But I think I'm gonna plop myself down on the couch today and just like read this book. I think it's gonna go by really quickly. I did listen to a tiny snippet of the audiobook just to get their voices back into my head and get back into the feel of things. But that's Carl's Doomsday scenario so far. Okay, Carl's Doomsday scenario is done. I will say, I think with like all of these books that I always kind of call my palette cleanser books, I think the last series of books that I kind of treated this way, very different series, but I treated them kind of similar, were the Assistant to the Villain books, where they just kind of give you a different tone of telling a fantasy-ish story. I feel like with all of these types of books, I enjoy them for the first half. Like they're just fresh, they're kind of funny in ways. But then after like, I don't know, 150 pages, 200 pages, my brain just gets like bored of them. I think with these ones in particular, I was talking about how the first book felt very repetitive after a while. We're doing the same things over and over and over again. We're trying to level up in this game, right? Like level up skills and stuff. So a lot of it will naturally feel repetitive. And I think some of those issues were fixed in this one with some of the more like involved storylines within the game, with the introduction of quests and stuff stuff, as I was mentioning. So all of that was great. But what still feels repetitive to me is the humor style. I think it's just a result of this humor style not being funny to me. I kept saying, like, in the first book I was laughing at a lot of the stuff because I could picture my husband laughing at a lot of the jokes, and I think it's definitely like satirical kind of humor. It's definitely a little bit of dark humor, which I can enjoy. I definitely do enjoy that, but I think the way it's done in this book, it is quite like in your face, quite vulgar. It almost feels like slapstick kind of comedy, and like that's never been my type of humor, even in movies, like visual format. Like, I've just never really loved that. So I think with the writing style and that type of humor, it just kind of blocks my brain from fully engaging in these books. So they still do feel like kind of silly palate cleansers to me, although while reading it, I can see that we are diving deeper into some of the characters. We are diving deeper into some of the politics and what goes into organizing this kind of like a dungeon crawler game and what's going on in the bigger scheme of things. I can see hints that are, you know, pointing towards that, but because my brain is just locked on this, oh, I can't get past this humor style kind of a thing, it's kind of being a little bit impossible for me to fully engage in them as I'm reading. I don't know, I still am unsure if I am the target audience for these books. Like, I do enjoy them to some extent, but they're not the 5-star, 6-star experiences that I'm seeing so many readers have with this series. So I do think I'm gonna rate this overall a 3.75. There were definitely parts of this that were enjoyable for me. It's just not, like, it's not up to a 4-star yet. I will say, I think I enjoyed this one overall better than the first book, which I think I also rated a 3.75. So it's like a high 3.75 rating. I don't think it's a full 4-star for me at this point. That being said, I have heard a lot of people say that these books kind of take a more serious turn. You get more emotionally involved with the characters and everything that's happening later on in the series. So for anyone who has read through the series, let me know, when does that happen? Because I also know these books do get chunky as they go on, and I think I can handle these ones because this book was like 350 pages. So even though I do get kind of bored of the humor style and the writing style, it is like still pretty easy for me to read through and kind of get through. But I am just hesitant to dive into the later books that are longer because I just personally don't know if I can withstand that much of this if it gets longer. But if the writing style does change and if the tone of the story does change a lot, then let me know. Let me know if the series is worth continuing, because I'm honestly a little bit on the fence right now. That being said though, it's now time to update the series tracker. So let's get this open on the computer. This is gonna feel so good, you guys, because we did complete 2 series. I'm calling the Stormlight Archive complete, okay? Even though I just, you know, it's not the end, it's complete until 2030. So next book to read, TBD, we don't know yet. I've read 5 out of 5 of these books, and this is flipping to, I guess I could flip this to up to date, because it's technically not complete, but it technically is up to date. Okay, actually, we'll flip the series status to unfinished, and then we'll flip the reading status to up to date. There we go. But it does kick it off the active series list. So I have caught up in that one. That's great. I finished the Infernal Devices, so there's no next book to read. I've read 3 out of 3, and that is finished. Yeah. And then for the dungeon crawler books, the next one, what is the next book called? Where's that page where it says like what other books Matt Dinniman has published? Oh, here. Dungeon Crawler Carl's Doomsday Scenario. The next one is the Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook. Okay. The Dungeons, I'm typing with one hand here. Cookbook. I've read 2 out of 8 currently available, and I would need to buy the next one. Actually, no, I have the audiobook for the next one, so I'll keep this one ready to continue. But yeah, I'm not entirely convinced if I want to continue this series, but we'll see how it goes. That means to this date, the current series that are active that I could continue are the Scorched Throne series that I mentioned, the Bone Season, and Dungeon Crawler Carl if I do so choose to continue. The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker though is coming out very soon, so I'm gonna be able to flip the Moonfall series back to ready to continue continue soon once I get my hands on the second book. But in the meantime, I do think as we continue to wait for some of these releases to come out later this year, we do have some room to start some more series again. So for those of you familiar with my TBR and familiar with my series TBR, let me know what series you would want me to start next. Some notable ones that I have on my physical TBR are This Woven Kingdom, The Naturals, The Kiss of Deception, The Road of Bones. I also have The Name of the Wind now actually on my physical TBR. Chain of Gold, of course, to continue my Cassandra Clare journey, or I could go to, what is it called, Swordcatcher. So definitely some good options of more series that I could get going. But that being said, I think this reading vlog is really, really long at this point. So I'm gonna leave you guys here for now. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what series you want to see me continue or series you want to see me start next. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!